Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Bets Golden and today I am sharing with you a fabulous line. It is by Aladine. I'm not quite sure how they pronounce it. I've heard it said many different ways. They're out of France. This is a wonderful, wonderful line of mixed media goodies, and they have been so kind to send me all of this in collaboration with a hop with the Rita Bearcat team. So I'm going to be using this line with the Rita Bearcat stamps, embossing powder, foam stamps, just to kind of explore and experiment and show you what is cool about this line. When I was trying to research what this does, I had a really hard time finding any kind of tutorials or anything that breaks it down. It's a little bit better than what it was a couple months ago when I looked, but I can understand how there can be a little bit of confusion on what's the difference between this dye ink and this pigment ink, so on and so forth, what makes this unique, what makes this special. So I went ahead last night and I did play with all of this to create this really fun background page in my journal. And I used all the products and I learned a whole bunch of different things about the product. And I thought I would share that with you, and we're going to take it one at a time. So I'm going to play with all of this today. This is going to be quite extensive, but hopefully once the video is done, you'll have a better understanding of what each of these does, the properties in them, and which ones, if not all of them, you want to add to your craft room. So let me just give you a basic synopsis right here. This is probably one of the most popular items that they have out. It also happens to have a ton of coverage on YouTube, more so than the other items, and that is their diamond glitter paint. This stuff is fantastic. I have a video of them demoing this at Creativation 2019. It is all-purpose, all-surface, I should say. A lot of stuff they did on canvas bags, t-shirts, things like that. So if you want to see that, definitely check out those videos. For today's demonstration, I'm going to be strictly sticking to paper, just because that's kind of what I'm using for this demo, but you can definitely use it on other substrates as well. Okay, next up are the dye inks. These are a dye base. They're fast drying. So this is really wonderful for just stamping images or creating backgrounds that you don't want to emboss and you don't need wet very long. The metallics are beautiful. These are metal. They are pigmented. This is what you would use to emboss with. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous color. Both of these I really liked. The ink sprays are very unique in the sense that you don't have to shake them. They are already totally, the properties in them are already mixed. They're ready to go. They are definitely, I would say, an ink, and they're totally ready to use. And I have 3 of them here. Now this one is a little bit different. This is a spray finish. There is some mica in it, I believe, so you do want to kind of shake this up, but it leaves a beautiful gold finish, and definitely put this on at the end of your project. These pigmented, basically they're drops. It's liquid pigment. This is really cool. This product you can take and drop straight onto your project. Use a little bit of embossing powder and set it for a really cool background. You can mix it with water and paint. You can mix it with alcohol ink or alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and paint with it. Or you can drop it on some wet cardstock or wet paper and create backgrounds. So if you want, the color on this is very vibrant, so if you want to get it to be a bit more transparent, you're going to want to add some water to it or alcohol. So this is a really, really neat product line. And then we have, last but not least, the texture paste. This texture paste is very special. It's creamier than a typical modeling paste, and you actually can lay it down in a fashion where you can see whatever image or design you have under the paint through it. So it's pretty cool depending on the thickness that you lay it down. It is shimmery and beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with playing with all of this goodness. I'm going to be creating some backgrounds today, and then I will show the finished projects on my blog when we have the blog hop, which will be the first Tuesday in August. So make sure you check that out as well. When it's ready, I will link it through to here. First thing I want to play with is going to be the dye ink pads. These are a fast drying ink pad. I'm going to first use this beautiful blue. And again, this is based out of French, so I don't speak French, so my French is not all that great. This is a very, very moist pad, even though it is a dye, and it is rather quick drying. It does get nice and juicy, which I love. And I'm using one of the Technique Junkie Little Mermaid type stamps from Rita Bearcat on this, and that is how that's stamped. Really pretty coverage on it. The pad on this is a really nice foam type pad, so I really appreciate that. Then for this little one, I'm going to do the beautiful yellow. Again, my French not so good. And the stamp again is by Technique Junkie. It's the Rita Bearcat cute little clam. All right, let's see. So that's a really pretty yellow. And then for this little stamp, this little gal, I'm going to go back and just do the blue again. And I will color these in probably with some colored pencils, and then fussy cut them out and put them on the backgrounds for the design team post. Not quite sure what I'm doing yet with this. All right, so as you can see, these stamp sets do stamp beautifully. And we are going to move on to the metal pigmented sets next. Now let's play with some of the pigmented metal pads. I love these. They're super, they're just really pretty. You'll see what I mean. I do this. The first thing I'm going to do is with this beautiful gold, and I am using the Seagrass stamp by Rita Bearcat through Technique Junkies. And I'm also going to be applying the Mermaid Fin embossing powder over it, over both of them actually. So for this one, and what's fun with these is you can like do something like this where if you're working in your journal, this is really cool to do on the side of the page, kind of have it go off of the page and have like the bottom off. It looks really cool that way. It looks like it's like water and the waves blowing. It's so fun. All right, so I'm just going to take and clean this real quick. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my silver on top of that. What I like about the mermaid fin, why I've decided to do that, is because it will still allow that gold to shine through in some areas. And you'll get some beautiful glitter. So that's why I'm going to be using that particular embossing powder. And that's through Emerald Creek. But you can, if you're interested in any of the Rita Bearcat products, just go over to her little Etsy shop and you can get them there. It's easier, and she has them all there, so she can ship them all in one box. All right, so there's this one. See how pretty those are? All right, but I do want to set them, and you really do need to heat set them. And I always, whenever I work with pigment, I do like to emboss them as well. So I'm going to take this and see how glittery it is. So pretty. And I am just going to sprinkle some over all of it. And then we'll heat set it. And whenever you're working, this is, I believe that this is a bit of a thicker type embossing powder. Maybe not, but you can always heat from the bottom if you're worried about the glitter or things blowing off of it. I went ahead and heat bossed both, and as you can see the gold shine through on this one and also the silver on this, but now it's set, it's not going to smear, and it's beautiful. So this is a really fun metal ink, and then of course the mermaid fin on top of it, since it's pretty much, it's kind of like it has a clear embossing powder in it and then also that beautiful glitter, so everything, you know, you can see through it, but yet it still has that blue sparkle over it. So it's really fun. All right, let's move on to the sprays. The sprays that I have are a beautiful pinky type rose. It's more of a red undertone. Then we have, so that is a warm. Then we also have a warm yellow. And then we have a cool blue. So we're going to experiment, see how much we have to respect the color family with these. I'm going to dry between layers. I'm sitting here shaking by habit, even though you don't have to. So the first one I'm going to lay down is going to be the yellow. And I'm just going to kind of get that going in different spots. I am going to hit this real quick with a heat gun. And now I'm going to lay down the rose. Again, I'm trying to shake it and I don't need to. I'll hit that once again with the heat gun. And then finally, let's put down the blue. And then I'm going to go ahead and try to do some stenciling over this with these same colors. So that's pretty. Not mud yet. So maybe the trick is just to keep between the layers. I'm going to use this rather large stencil from Dylusions. It is the, it's like a fish scales, it's fish tails, and I'm doing the large. I was going to do the smaller one, but I want this to cover entirely, and I want to spray, I just want to really spray and not have to worry about, you know, this kind of line. If I spray on this, I'm going to have the line, and I don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to put this down, and I probably I don't really want to tape it, because if I tape it again, I'm going to have that tape line. So we're just going to go with it like this, and I'm going to go ahead and just start layering on my colors once again, only I'm going to kind of go with my yellow in the middle, my pink on top, and then my blue on the bottom. And the reason is because if I do start to get some muddying, hopefully it won't be so bad, because I'll have I can mix this with this and get orange and be safe. I can mix this with this and get green and be safe. I can even mix these two together and get purple and be safe. But when I throw in that yellow, that's when, you know, and on both of these, that's when we can get some mud. So I'm going to do, you know what? No, I'm going to do the yellow, the rose, and then the merdosode. I can't even say it. The blue. Again, I'm just experimenting, all right? This is a new product line to me too, and it's just kind of fun to do with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and just really give a nice layer and see how it's already interacting with that color below. So that's interesting to know. And we're going to go ahead and do the rose. And I am getting a little bit of muddiness right there, so definitely need to respect our color families when doing this. And then that blue. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another sheet of my mixed media paper, and I'm going to just sop it up like so. And look, I didn't even get all the way on, but that's okay. I'm gonna sop it up, pick up that excess color, brayer it on, make sure I get a nice coverage. All right, so this is kind of fun. That's pretty cool, right? All right, so that's the first print. Set that aside to dry. And then let's go ahead and take a look at this print. So when you're using these, if you don't dry between layers, you definitely want to respect the color families, and it looks like it does interact with water once it's re-wet. So with that being said, let's go ahead and clean this up, and let's try to do 2 more respecting the color families. For this one, I'm going to create 2 backgrounds, and I'm first going to layer on the yellow. I'm going to do a nice coverage of this, like so. That's a beautiful, vibrant yellow. I'm going to go ahead and just hit this with my feeding tool. I went ahead and dried that a little bit, and my hands, I didn't wash them as I cleaned up my space, and so I accidentally got some of the blue on and it transferred over. So I am going to spray on top of this the blue, and I'm just going to use the stencil once again, and then the next one we will do with the pink, the rose, and the blue. So let's go ahead and see how this goes on here. So that's really pretty coverage just as it is, but I definitely want to add just a little bit more color. So I'm going to go over it fairly heavy-handed right now just to see what we get. And it really does mix beautifully with that, and it gives almost a green. I'm going to take this again and just pull that image up with all of the extra spray ink we have on it on the top. So that is this. That's kind of cool how it peeks through a little bit. And then here is this one. And again, I don't want to risk cross-contaminating my next one, so there we go. So, you know, if you saturate it as much as I did, obviously you're going to have the lines kind of run through and pull, but that's not bad. I did that on purpose because I wanted to see how it would react with the yellow. So that's really pretty. Let's go ahead and try the rose and the blue together and see what we get. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to spray some of the spray finish on both of these so you can see how that works. Now we're going to play with the rose and the blue. I'm going to do kind of the same technique that I did last time. I might not saturate it as much, and I washed my hands and it still looked like I beat up a Smurf. So I think that this does have permanent properties once it does fully dry, but it's kind of cool because you know that it's mixable until then, which is very neat. So I got this as clean as I could, but I'm not quite sure it's entirely, I see a little bit of that ghost of the stuff we just did. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so I'm going to put the rose down. And that's about all I'm going to do for that. It is a really, really pretty color. So I'm going to leave that like that and give it a hit with the heat gun. And now that that's nice and dry, or dry to the touch, I should say, I'm going to lay my stencil over, and I'm just going to take my blue and go over. And I'll pick up this this piece of paper. I just like doing these second prints. So that's this one. Oh, I like that. That's really pretty. Perfect for a nice summer page. That blue is gorgeous. And then here is this one. And you can definitely see that pink on the underside, and you can tell where I accidentally moved it. So that's a really cool page as well. So let's recap, take a look at what these look like now that they've had a little bit of time to dry. This is when we threw everything on it and we didn't respect our color families. And as you can tell, we needed to respect our color family because we got some mud in some areas. This one is the yellow and the blue, and it turned out really pretty. Very, very intense. A lot of coverage. Really, I used quite a heavy hand on that. So I just wanted to see that yellow, how beautiful it was. And if you look at the back of the paper, you can definitely see the vibrancy of this color. And then these two, this was the rose with the blue, and I used a lighter hand with that. That turned out really lovely. And then this is my favorite image that I picked up off the stencil. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and finish this with this beautiful gold spray. I love this stuff. So I'm going to just spray on each of these with this. With this, you're going to really be able to see what it looks like on that white as well. There is mica in it, so I do like to give it a shake. But it just leaves a beautiful shimmer on it. So pretty. So this is the gold on this. It's really pretty in real life. The way it catches the light and things is so lovely. Then let me go ahead and put it down on this one. Now this is a warm color, so you're going to want to keep that in mind when you're layering this, because on this one it did warm this up. Still doesn't look muddy, but you can definitely tell that it has, I don't want to say muted it, but it's given it a different type of feel. And then let's go ahead and do it on this one. This is probably going to be super pretty because of the yellow undertones on it. Yeah, so that's really pretty. Now the next one, since I already have mud, I'm going to go a real heavy hand on it and just see what happens, you know, just to kind of play. But so pretty. Then here's this one. This is, again, this is the one we kind of got mud on. So let's just see what happens if you'll be able to really, like in that area, if you spray this hard enough, you can seriously get almost full coverage with it. So I'm using an obsessive amount right now. I would not recommend doing this. And I'm actually going to take this one and pick it up just to see, just for the fun, just to see what we can get by doing this. This does have almost an alcohol-y smell in it, so I do think that it finishes and seals your project. I could be wrong, but so look at that. That's kind of cool. I kind of like that. So that is the glitter, the spray finish, the ore spray finish, and it is so awesome. This is a fast drying, and it's safe for paper and cardboard is what it has been created for. Now let's go ahead and experiment with this pigmented ink. You guys have got to be laughing at my hands right now. I swear. That is so funny to me. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you can use it just straight up and just kind of drop it on a dry piece of paper like I'm doing. You can take and just go through it like that and get just some beautiful images like so. Clearly I haven't learned my lesson with my hands yet, have I? All right, and then let me take this pretty one. And again, I'm just going to drop it. Like so. And there we go. And again, you can just take and rub it through. So pretty. You can use a paintbrush on that. Now when I mix that, it did give me some orange, which is fun. And then let's go ahead. Sorry, I have a wipe out. And I'm going to use the blue next. Because, you know, I need something to match my hands. So I'm going to use the blue up next. And I am going to give it a shake. I think it is separating in the bottle. So I want to make sure that I give it a nice shake. There we go. And this is Topaz. I kind of like that. You just take it and flick it. All right, and then again, if you want, you can take something and just rub it out like so. Now, I'm not done yet. I really do have a purpose with this. I'm going to go ahead and just take a water bottle and move it around. And then I'm going to take the baby wipe that I have, because you know, why not, and just spread it out like so. So it moves and interacts with water quite nicely, as you can see. So this is one. Let me go ahead, do another one, only this time I'm going to mist the paper down with water first, and then we're going to drop it. And it would be very cool to add some of that gold spray over it. That'd be really pretty too. All right, so for this one, I'm just going to take and get that nice and wet. I am using a basic mixed media cardstock. It's out of this pack I picked up at, I think it was Joann's or Hobby Lobby. So I'm not using any kind of special paper. I'm sure that this would work really well on like Distress Oxide or something like that. Not Distress Oxide. I can't even talk. Watercolor paper. But look how fun that is, just putting it on the wet paper. All right, so and this yellow really comes out quite nicely. And I'm just kind of flicking from the bottle, as you can tell. And then let me go ahead and put some of the Topaz down on this. And yeah, I'm using a lot of ink and showing how to do this. By all means, I am. And so from here, I love how that's moving with the water, and you can go over it again and just look how it moves even more when you spray it. I love that look. So pretty. And the color vibrancy on it is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to set this up with a heat gun real quick, and then I'm going to actually show you how you can use it with some embossing powder. I'm actually loving how this looks, so I'm going to carefully set this aside to dry, and we're going to do the embossing technique on another sheet of paper just so you can get a feel for what you can do on a background. My intention was to lay down some of this orchid and then to put over it some of the Kiss of the Fairy, but I want to let this dry and set up, and I think I like it as it is, so we're just going to do that technique on a scratch sheet of paper, and you can just see what I'm talking about. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out because I'm only going to use the lower half of this. I'm going to take this sheet of paper to kind of protect it because I have another idea on this. And I'm going to take this and just flick some out like so. Okay. Now, the technique that I am using is going to be embossing powder, and this is going to actually move around and bubble. So that's going to be completely normal for this. And I think I'm actually, yeah, I'm going to do with this one, the Kiss of the Fairy. So I'm just going to take that, throw it on. This is a thick embossing powder, so I definitely am going to want to heat it from the bottom. Alright, so I'm going to take my heat tool and just start on the underside, like so. Look at that. I don't know if you guys can see, but it is so fantastic. It is really cool. From here, I'm going to go ahead and do the same technique with the Topaz and then also the Mimosa. And this time, I'm just going to emboss it with a clear embossing powder. So I'm just kind of doing an abstract type design on the background of this, and then we're going to pull in our sprays. So I know I'm taking us back. We're going back and forth on this, but I really think this is going to be a pretty background. And you know what? If we don't like it when we're done, that's totally cool. You know what we can say? Oops, oh well, and move on. So that is going to be that one, and then I'm going to go ahead and also layer on some of this beautiful yellow in spots. And I just like to use the tip to kind of drag it around like so. And again, that blue is still wet, and I don't really want to mix the colors, so I'm being a little bit careful as I say that and start flicking. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just heat set this again, only this time I'm going to use a clear embossing powder. So I did go ahead and just set that up with some, I embossed it and then I heat set it. One thing I want you guys to notice, this is not part of the, just, you know, the little experiment we're doing here, but I have discovered that this heat gun, this is the only one that I have that does this. I have another one that never does this. It actually gets too hot and it burns. So, which isn't going to be a big deal for this because I'm going to lay some sprays down over it, but you know, that could be a fire hazard. So be careful. I have to, when I use that heat gun, I literally can't do it on stuff like this. I have to use my other instrument because it works a whole lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this up. We're going to lay down some of that spray on top of it. It's going to resist it because it is all heat set. So I'm just going to literally do 1 squirt of yellow, maybe 2. 1 squirt of the, maybe 2, red, and we'll just do 1 squirt of that. Let me go ahead, hit it with this heat gun again, and then we're going to put the gold on over it. And there we go. So we have a beautiful background mixed media type abstract art piece that we created using this wonderful pigmented ink and embossing powder, and then also the sprays. So we have 2 more things to go over next, and that is going to be the glitter paint and the texture paste. Let's play with the texture paste. You guys, I've got to tell you that I am super impressed with this texture paste. It is creamy and it is shiny, and you can get it to be almost like a little bit translucent, if that's the right word. It is a really, really wonderful paste, and I'm left-handed, so I have to switch my paper around here, but I'm going to just run it through this stencil. The thing with this paste that I noticed is little goes a long way, and it's not like modeling paste in the sense that you're not going to get those peaks, and like it doesn't give you the high peaks like modeling paste would, where there's it really like maintains this super structured type consistency to it, but it's a little bit creamier than that. So I don't put as much on as I would with modeling paste, but I'm gonna just do kind of like a stripes a little bit here, and then I'll go over it with my stencil pal and run it through. But it's so pretty. You do want to wash your stencil when you're done after this, obviously, and I'm going to trim this down, so I'm not too worried about that. But since this is, you know, mermaid themed, I'm going to do bottom, obviously, in that blue. And this paste is really good on paper and cardboard, is what it's created for. So that's why I'm sticking with our, ooh, I got some yellow in there. I'm gonna have to try to get that out. I thought I had cleaned my tool, but I guess I didn't. Uh-oh. Okay, I think I got it out. All right, so that's all the blue I'm gonna put down, and I'm gonna go through with my stencil pal and just really pull this down through like so. So I'm actually gonna start down here at the blue and pull that through, kind of getting it to blend right there. I'm just gonna clean it as I work my way up. I want to have a little bit on it just to blend it through, but I love this stencil tool by Thermoweb because it covers such a broad stencil, and I can just really bring that down. Okay, so let me go ahead, remove this stencil so you guys can see what this looks like. And again, it really dries relatively quickly, so you want to make sure that you go and rinse your stencil off. But isn't that beautiful? Let me hold it up for you. So it definitely keeps its form. However, if you try to put a lot on, it will start to do bleed through like that, because again, it's not as I want to say hardy as your typical modeling paste is, but the shine on it and how creamy it is, oh, just is heavenly. I love it. Okay, let's go on to the last thing, which is our paint. All right, the last and probably most famous, I would say, or most well-known product in this line is the this beautiful glitter paint. And you can use it, I've seen it basically done on canvas bags and t-shirts. So I'm going to use the substrate of paper today, but you definitely can use this on other substrates. And I am going to run it through a stencil, and then I'm also going to use this foam stamp and just see how it stamps with this, and then also how it runs through a stencil, because I'm super curious. So for the bubbles, I think I'm going to use this beautiful blue. And let me see here. It's blue. I can't say it. I'm so sorry. And then the turquoise on this. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be my stencil, and I'm just going to lay this out like so. I think I will put some purple tape on it, and then I'll go ahead and just run that beautiful blue through it. And I have my stencil pal here. That's a new product, I believe, by Thermoweb. I really like it. One thing that I do appreciate about this is the packaging. A lot of times when you open up paint, it dries out. And with this, it keeps the air out and it's really easy to reseal. So I'm just going to put it down like that. And I'd rather start off, to me that looks like a lot, but what do I know? And I'm going to turn it sideways because that's what I do, even though it doesn't make any sense. And let's just, actually, let me turn it this way. You run it on through with my stencil pal, like so. And that is some intense, beautiful glitter. And it looks like I'm gonna, oop, and it's sliding. That's my fault. So I'm gonna add some more. Let me make sure this is okay. You know what, let me start on a different piece of paper. I screwed that up. So you definitely want to put this down with some purple tape. And you know, I'm experimenting with you guys on this, and I played with it last night some before I did this, but I really wanted just to come on and have that first time experience with you, because I really think, I know that when I'm viewing YouTube videos, if they're perfectly edited, where you edit out all of the boo-boos and the mistakes, when it happens to you, when you get that product at home, you think you're like doing something wrong, and when you could have just seen someone else do it and maybe learn from their mistake. So I would rather have you guys see me kind of go, oh, I really needed to put some tape down on that and fix it and try again, than to edit it out and be like, oh yeah, you're going to tape this down and whatnot. So I don't know, that's just kind of how I work. All right, so we're going to try this one more time. And it looks like you need a little bit more paint than what I had anticipated. So it's very pretty. And again, it is glitter paint. And I am going outside of the stencil. I'm going to trim it down after it dries. No worries on that. All right. There we go. Let me go ahead and just remove this stencil. Super pretty. So since it is a glitter paint, it does want to bleed under because you have to kind of press. I pressed hard naturally because it's a glitter. So just keep that in mind when you are working with it. And then from here, let's go on and try it on the foam stamp. All right, so let's try it on this foam stamp by Art Foamies. This is the Rita Bearcat one again, and I'm going to be using the turquoise on this. Now, something that just dawned on me that I saw Seth Appner do was he used the dabs through the stencil. So I'm going to go back and try that on the scratch piece of paper with this like a dabber, a sponge applicator, and I'm also going to dab it out with it on my my stamp. So I'm just gonna take this and just see, it might just work on the stencil. I don't know how well this is gonna stamp. I'm just doing it because I see, you know, I stamp with my Art Foamies with paint, and so I just want to see if this is something that you can stamp. It might not be something that you can stamp with. The consistency of it is definitely very coarse because of the glitter. It's really beautiful, but this, like, yeah, I think I'm painting right now on my stamp. I don't know how much, so this is going to give me an image per se. So, and I'm a little bit worried because I just realized that I'm using glitter on Art Foamy, and that's probably not really smart. So, yeah, this may be a bad idea, guys. We'll see. We'll see. But you definitely want to be gentle with your art foamies because they can tear and rip because they are foam. So, and this is one of my favorite ones. So we will see how this cleans up. I'll let you know. But, you know, rather have me experiment with it, right? Doesn't mean this is a bad product. It just might mean that this works great for stencils. I like how this paint did on stencils more so than how regular paint does on a stencil. Okay, so this just might be something that is good with stencils. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just apply that pressure, and let's see here how we do with this. Oh, it actually is really subtly pretty. So that's super pretty. I'm going to go wash my art foamy, and then we're going to try to run the paint through a stencil again using the sponge dab. We're going to see the difference. I am happy that it did not damage my art foamy. However, I do not recommend that you use glitter on any of your foam stamps or foam images. That was a total brain fart on my part, and I'm a big enough person to say that I shouldn't have done that, and I really lucked out. But with that being said, you can stamp subtle images with it, and it does turn out beautiful. But I don't think I will be applying this to stamps. I think I will strictly use it with stencils and just like directly applying with a paintbrush. So I'm going to go ahead and just on the bottom of this, just do this one more time with my sponge applicator. I'm going to kind of get the leftovers off. So I'm going to do both on this, I think, some of the turquoise, and then I'm going to pick up some of this blue, and let's just see how this works. I certainly hope that you guys are enjoying just watching me experiment with this product line, and you're able to glean whether or not, what items I should say, what things you want out of this product line, because I'm going to show you the beautiful, how the pigmented, what am I trying to say? The pigment, the one that I laid out on this, and I just laid it out and then added some water to it. It turned out beautiful, and something that I noticed was that it has a shimmer to it, which is lovely, and it's a beautiful vibrant color. So I want to show that to you real quick at the end. And then of course, please go over to my blog and check out the finished project that I did with all of these pieces. I did incorporate all of them. I will be incorporating all of them, I should say, into something, and I would love for you just to kind of check it out. And I'm sure I will learn more in the process, and I'll have some more tips and hints and things I noticed about the projects over there. So let's see how this did. All right, so it definitely is not as crisp, but it's pretty. So this is it with the sponge dabber, and this is it with like a stencil buddy. I like the stencil buddy on it better, definitely. But it's cute. And then check this out, you guys. This is that sheet that I made. Look at how vibrant and beautiful that color is. And I don't know if you can see the sheen and shine, but it is definitely there. So overall, I think that this product line by Aladine is a win. You just have to play with it. And I can't tell you which one is my favorite. I think I would have to say, for me, it would have to be the pigment drops that did this. I'm just so impressed with this. And I'm going to be coloring in my mermaid that I stamped with the ink, which is this right here. I think I might be coloring in these images with those pigmented, only using them as a watercolor with a little bit of water. So I hope that you enjoyed this and it fascinated you and you learned a little bit something about this wonderful new product line. I know I sure did. Thank you for sticking with me. Please feel free to leave any comments down below. And also, just so you know, my substrate was not the highest quality substrate on this. I don't like to experiment on my expensive papers, so it is my mixed media, all standard type paper. I think I bought this book for $2 at Joann's or something. So, you know, your substrate definitely will have something to do with the effect and outcome of how your projects turn out. So, but, you know, this did its job, I think, for me. And I learned a lot. I hope you did too. Until next time, I'm Betsy Golden. Happy crafting.